Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, in the future or in the past. It really depends when you're watching this video. If you're watching this in the past, how have you done this? Explain the sorcery to me because you clearly are able to see what I've done before I've done it. Yeah, but all things are strange in time, and especially in this place in time. For this is session 0 of what is to be the day Tehul died. We're going to be introducing our players, our catalysts, and introducing the sense of a normal day in the life before the true events of what I like to think of a what-if story within the Ring of Fire, a full saga of a potential event of what if the death of an elder creator was not prevented? What if the heroes were not necessarily the ones who stopped the event or managed to stop the event by the skin of their teeth, but rather seeing how they survive the after effects of death itself, dying, and the repercussions on not only the metaphysical level of the dominoes falling from on high, but also what the lives of those, or for those surviving such event, would be. So, without taking too much further time waffling about, I will now begin the session. We look at Kavega Thale as it floats suspended in the void. The light of Ahura Mazda, its dead body, has risen up past dawn light, has faded away, and we are looking at day 3 of Cycle 5000, and the eyes of Ahriman have shifted down past from their point of view, looking up at it, but rather looking at the underside of this world. It's white orbs constantly gazing, ravel to uncoil this entirety of existence to bask in its own stillness of perfection once again. So we begin to zoom down, towards the surface of this place as we see the clouds, which have the vague shape of bird-like entities flapping through the skies, in some places more congregated than others. And we go to a patch where there are a few gentle doves flying through the air in a lazy sort of pattern, but still like bright swatches of blue sky in the way as we begin to zoom closer and closer. And then we see huge swaths of farmland and small farm buildings and establishments along these things, with its own little like sub communities within each farm area. But you see, for as far as almost the eye can see, standing on the ground, agriculture of all kinds. You see rows upon rows of corn and maize, stretching in one direction, and yet in another you see vineyards of grapes and stranger fruits. In another, you see just rows upon rows of apples of varying sizes and shapes and colors. Almost nearly any vegetable or fruit you could probably imagine has its own place within the huge swaths of farmland. But as you grow closer and closer down the winding roads between these between these farmsteads, which all claim their allegiance and home, we head closer and closer towards the center, where the farms begin to congregate more closely together until finally we see what is the town of Flame Dance. And today is like any other day, with hustle and bustle from not only community members who are waking up from their day, farmers leaving to go work in the fields, to till, to water, to make sure that the seeds that they had planted the day before begin to grow further, or the plants that are still on the vine are being nurtured. In fact, several orcs are heading towards the direction of the apple trees, checking them to see the ripeness of the apples for tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day of Damar, and the apples should be just right, just perfectly ripe. And many of those apples will be divided up for not only produce to be sold at the markets for very cheap, but also to be sent to cider houses to be turned into alcoholic beverages, to be distributed amongst the vendors, to be distributed amongst travelers. And yes, even now in the early morning here, we begin to see travelers coming in from afar. But we first zoom in as we see some of these travelers walking into the streets, looking around and trying to determine, looking at the hustle and bustle of people moving to go to work the fields, or to shop at the market. Some of them are, believe it or not, here for early morning drinks. An odd thing to think about, but this is the Fountain of Flame dance, where you flame dance the doorway to dreams. Bacchus holds sway here, and honestly, sometimes you are more than welcome to find the Fest Hall of Bacchus open 24 hours, all day, all night, or the all nights, or the all dawns, depending, it doesn't matter. The Fest Hall is always open. But then, of course, you also have the swing, which has another type of atmosphere, a lot more calm, a different type of brew and such. But then there's another one, and this one has a reputation all its own, and has very keen interests as to some people who come in that what such a thing would be flaunted and so openly. And with that, most tourists tend to gravitate towards here, or especially upon the rumors of the lady who owns the tavern itself. The tavern being known as Grace and the Bastards. And so we open the door to this two-leveled tavern, and we see the first thing that is hit upon here is the fact that all the tables, wooden and square, intersect around certain parts of the place. There's weird, eclectic groups of species that most people who are outsiders wouldn't even expect to see in such a place. You see, on one table, you see a satyr and an orc and a hibbin all talking together. On another, you see yet another satyr. It seems satyrs seem to be one of the most populous of the species here, but you see mostly satyrs around. But then you get but even then the satyrs don't all seem to congregate together. They're all with other people, all communicating with each other. Or you see humans, you see hibbins, you actually see a weird group of a salamander, a creature that looks something like a bipedal saber-toothed tiger, or a creature that looks like it shouldn't be alive, or a statue has just been moved to sit at the desk, but sometimes it turns its head slowly, and there's the grinding of stone against stone to let you realize this statue is more than just a statue. I mean, yet all these creatures sit together. They exist heartily, and we look as at the bar itself is Grace. Grace being herself a very lovely woman. The rumors of her have always been very much true, of her beauty, of her stature, of her. And as people begin to see, as she's going out, she holds not only one tray, not only 2 trays or 3 trays, but 8 8 trays, 2 stacked on top of her head, on the other. And along each arm, she has 3 trays, 2 in the palms of her hands, 2 more at the forearms, and a few more almost balanced, like very close to where the shoulders would meet her arms. And as she walks with almost an exaggerated sway as she walks here. Oh, and she is human, to say the least. One of the few humans in this place. And as she walks and she moves with a grace that is her own namesake. Like it's almost mesmerizing to watch as she doesn't seem to so much like walk up to the tables and serve them, but rather almost seems to like glide and sway, and as she passes by a table seems to almost twirl and deposit the trays of beverages without almost missing a beat and following to her own rhythm as she dances on by, almost following one of those weird psychedelic patterns that you see curling and swirling along the walls of the place, of the establishment. You also feel the crunch, the solidness of the ground. There is no wooden floors in this place, but solid earth where the chairs and the benches are sat in. And the camera turns from Grace as she is depositing the beverages and chatting up with people as they all clap appreciatively as she brings them their beverages with such skill, such delicate dexterity, and just mesmerizing beauty. We turn to another figure in the room, one who's watching the woman very carefully, arms slightly folded, gazing around the place, keeping his eye on the 1 or 2 ogres that are in the back corner over there. And we get to see one of the bastards that is Grace's children. So, Alejandro, why don't you introduce yourself and describe yourself for the audience?
Well, I'm carefully watching right now. I'm around the door of the bar. The rays of sunlight, Asura Mazda's corpse, shine upon my skin, and you can see Uhimali skin, what would be understood as a dark brown skin, and green eyes on my frame. I am a human, an interbreed, particularly exotic. You can see, while I have my eyes wandering around, particularly the ogres, and particularly at another human who is serving some glasses of some beverages, and while always chewing an apple. I am Atlas, Grace's first bastard, and I've seen things that you should never see. Things that you should forget. Few people have seen 8 sprites come out of their mother's vagina. And really, few people should. But I am one of those people. And right now, I'm checking up some ogres so they don't misbehave at these rays of sunlight. And it's a good day. It's usually a calm day. And right now I'm half remembering, half forgetting, and I just realized, have we all forgotten? Hey, Adrian, salutes. Have we all forgotten? I go towards the desk of Lars, which is my brother. I'm tall. I am 6 feet 4 inches tall. I am extremely muscular. I have a green band on my face. I have no shirt. I have no shoes. I have a very ragged I have very ragged pants, and I have a kind of like piece of clothing. The pants are like blue with some patches, and I have a piece of green clothing also with some patches on top of it. The band is green. My hair is black as usually of Himalayan, and I just remember. And how could we have forgotten? This is the day of mothers, right? Is it not the day of Lacedarnia? Flame tender, is it?
It's day 3.
Flame tender. Michael.
I
Can you
think
hear
he
me?
froze. Yeah.
Oh, Michael is. Oh, I am froze. I am
Oh,
frozen. Or
yes,
Michael?
it is. You're good.
Oh
You're
yeah.
good now.
Okay. I don't know if you got it in the background story I sent you. It's actually guess whose birthday?
I do know whose birthday it is.
Oh, you do know. Oh, you do know. So I go to Lars. We completely forgot.
He kind of Lars is chewing on an apple as is custom there, and I mean as you've described to me. How about you describe Lars also for us as well, since he is your
Okay.
brother? But at the same time, he doesn't exactly look like you to the same degree. But then that comes to the fact that he is Grace's second bastard, and really in certain respects, your half brother more than anything else.
But we are both whole bastards.
Oh
So in
yes.
any case, the bastard sons of the bastard beautiful Grace have brothers whole bastards. And that's what matters in the end. I go towards him and I tell him, we forgot. We completely forgot. With a band of ogres of yesterday, we forgot. Lars.
What? What? If he stopped for a moment. He's chewing. He goes, "Oh, oh!" He actually like looks around for a moment. And he goes like, "I haven't seen her in a few days."
Okay. What was the last time I saw her? What was the last time I saw her? I
Uh,
think it was.
it was actually at the start of the long night. Actually, she the youngest, the third bastard child, the bastard daughter of Grace, and you're the Grace's favorite child, Rose, who once
Everyone.
again does not share the same skin tone as you, but yet is still full bastard, as you put it, and as such, still is full family. Rose, Rose, you think had left during the start of the long night of fear, and had wandered quite over to, well, she's never said where she goes, but you have a fairly good idea where she must have gone, and that place would be the House of Contemplation, the Temple of Opiate. It's known that she tends to go there in her strange little moods, but she always comes back every so often and will stay, usually paint, usually watch people, maybe imitate them a little bit, whether or not it's mocking or in absolute jest or appreciation. Depends on how she does it and goes about it. But you have not seen her since the long night of fear, which could mean a number of things, but the most likely thing is that she's probably still at the House of Contemplation.
Okay, if it's okay, I'm probably, like we're all very overprotective of her. I either don't know what happened to me, or we kind of left her with someone known, like please take care of her at this temple during those nights because they're very, you know, if
Yeah,
that's okay by you.
yeah, that's fine. That's
I mean,
fine.
we could have somehow, it could happen, but it would be weird, uncommon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As you well know, as you've been one of the ones who escort her there most of the time,
Mhm.
at least initially before she gained a little more independence for herself, that she tends to that she's actually very well welcomed to the temple, and is usually brought in very and is usually like very well taken care of. Um, Almost everyone in the temple seems to know her, into some capacity or another. It doesn't seem like they've ever actually talked, really, but they welcome her in. So that's really up to you about whether or not you wish to go there, because she has not come back home yet. I mean, the day's still young. It's only really just begun. The dawn's rays are gone, and we are going into the morning. And your mother seems to be being very friendly, very friendly with a satyr and oddly enough the salamander over at the table over there. Or she's actually like and you know the posture she's going, and she's standing there, leaning over there, or putting herself forward and smiling, and she's actually like trailing a finger along like nearby the gills of the salamander, who seems to be flaring a little more. You're not sure exactly, because it's hard to read the features of those things. You're not sure if it's excited or agitated or what. To be honest, it could be a little both, but you know your mother, and it's more than likely she may be taking a break in a moment, as is custom.
Surely there's a wardrobe change in the near future. I am right next to Lars. He has not changed place, and he rarely does. And I ask him, and these I usually do in body language, but right now it seems like a very calm morning as you're describing. So I just ask him out loud. I can usually do this. We've done this since the bar was open, and we did this even since children. I ask him out loud, risk level. And there's a number always between 1 and 10. 10 used to be a joke. We used to say, if we're in 10, we're already fucked. And we said, like, we have no hands. 10. But sometimes it has actually proven useful when there's a ferrum immediately menacing the leg of my brother behind, where he can be seen. And as my brother is carefully tending at the beverages, he slightly moves both the bottle and the base he's serving in. And at that moment that I look at him and he looks at me, and I know that happened once, and similar things have happened several times. And we've been lucky that we both still have both hands.
And so he looks at you for a moment, and he casts his eyes across it, and he sort of chews on the apple thoughtfully as he's sizing it up. Checks the apple again, real brief.
It's never below 3 with him. At least ever that he has, it's never below 3.
Yep. And it indeed is not a 3, but it's the lowest he usually gives. He says, after eyeing the ogres for a brief moment, high 4.
Dude, those high 4 of yours. Give me the apple. I grab the apple.
Hey, I'm still eating that.
I'm already running.
Yeah.
I know. I love you.
Like,
it's from both of us.
Yeah, he says as he reaches back behind the counter and pulls out another apple before he starts chewing it and just shakes his head. And so you run across the streets along the way. You know your way to the House of Commons.
My arms and like feeling the wind, and I'm happy because I love that little bastard, and it's her birthday. And she's the little baby of the bastard family, so I'm gonna give her a good old apple.
Yep. Indeed you are. And so you rush down the streets. Many people actually kind of look at you. Most people, like, most of the travelers will actually kind of take a look because there's some rushing around. You're well. I'm not saying that you're rushing at a breakneck pace, but you're definitely like going at a nice steady jog, and you are definitely a good-looking specimen as it goes by. You're definitely turning some heads. One or two people actually give a shout. Actually, one or two of them being ogres, being like, "Hey, your mother working today, or is she working?" as they laugh as you run by.
Surely the next will be you, RM. Surely the next one.
And then they laugh at the joke, and they just sort of they walk along their own way. Um, there's a few
Just don't
satyrs.
make me
One of
go
them.
in there.
Yeah. And there's satyrs going by. One or two, a few of them actually recognize you, and they actually give a wave. The more friendlier ones of the Bakhans that you remembered that seemed to be relatively chill with your mother's departure from the fest hall all those cycles back. Though there are still a few others that give you a doubtful glare. The few other humans that you pass by give a sort of like and seem to spit in your shadow, but you're already way past them before they can really do much harm, and whatever curses that they slur after you are caught off in the wind and dashed away as you make your way towards the House of Contemplation. And so we pan slightly away from you
Just a little moment.
towards yeah, sorry.
Yeah. On the way, I'm gonna pass. There's of course there's a temple of the Mar here, and I'm feeling the deep contact with her with every with it really with every step. And there's a place where there are a lot of apple trees, as cheap as apples are. And I just grab one fresh apple because I know, and I'll say, I know. Please forgive the interruptions. I'm going towards the temple.
Yeah, most of the Temple of Damar is actually run by orcs
Oh,
for the most
I'm
part.
going to the temple of Opiate.
I know, but you're grabbing like the I guess you're buying another apple. I gotcha. Never mind. So you're grabbing one, and it's usually the orcs that seem to be selling them for the most part, and they sell them actually really really cheap, probably cheaper than they probably should. But it seems the real profit comes from their ciders, actually, when it comes to their apple chart. The orcs seem to have a very slow moving pace as you grab the apple. You probably flip them a copper, I'm assuming. You pay it really, really quickly. But the orcs are taking a very slow gaze at your rush, and they watch after you, and they sort of give a sort of slow shake of their head at the rushingness, the need to be constantly everywhere at once for that young species of humanity. And they shake their head once and twice, 3 times and 4 times and 5 times and 6 times. And they just shake and shake and shake until they reach about shake number 16 before they finally stop moving their heads and continue about their business, organizing their bushels of apples by fours and fours and fours. But finally, you start to come around the corner. You see the long house of the House of Contemplation, and we're going to turn the camera away from you just a little bit now as we begin to pan towards this log house, because it is a long house. It's not a stories. It's a flat building for the most part. Probably not very descriptive for the most part. Most people would probably pass their eye over it. But even from the outside, you can smell the smell of deep, potent incense and other chemicals that almost make you feel a little lightheaded as you pass by it. And you can hear the sounds of like discordant sort of twangs and music in there. And we go through the curtain door. The curtain that sort of parts its way, and the clatter of beads aids as we move into the inside of the temple, and as you see the inside of the temple, there is nothing but pillows and sofas and furred comforters that are strewn almost in a lazy pattern. There's none really too close and yet able to be brought closer together to sort of give a what's the right term? A sense of comfort. You don't have to be nearby anyone if you don't want to. You're more than welcome to drag something, and there's no organization. Move yourself into a place that's comfortable, lay down, partake of the gifts of opiate, allow your mind to dream, to gain rest. As a matter of fact, there's one or two priests that are actually a little more awake than others, who seem to be checking over some person who has come in, and lying them down and explaining to them in whatever language the person understands that they're in need of a deep amount of rest, a amount of rest. They've been working themselves too hard in the fields, or because of the fact that they have not, out of their fear of the long nights, the last few nights that's still plaguing them, they have not had a real chance to sleep, and they're worried about the nightmares, and they are guaranteeing them restful sleep. But you see upon the walls on the inside, it's a far more decorated inside here than the others, than the outside. You see animal skins of various different animals tanned with paintings of various styles, from the more psychedelic that seem like a little more Salvador Dali kind of style, like melting clocks kind of idea in a weird sort of space, to ones that seem to like almost have intricate, detailed Renaissance era. Others are even more weird, like Picasso, with more like geometric shapes and such upon theirs. There's no real pattern to where these things are. They're just placed around the wall. But at the dead center of the temple is what is known as the Roost. And it's this winding, sort of carved staircase into what was once a great, possibly an oak tree, that curls upwards to an almost enclosed area that is stylized to look like a giant nest in there. And you can see from time to time, as the smoke from the opium pipes and other psychedelics rise up and coalesce upon the rooftop and find their way out the slats, there's additional puffs that seem to come up from what's at the top of the Roost. We are not focusing on the Roost or any one of these ones who are necessarily awake at the moment. We turn our attention now to a pile. Well, I will let you describe not only your sleeping self, but your dream at this moment. You can start with whatever you feel is best first, Nick. But know this, even if with the dream, you're going to be waking up fairly soon.
Okay. You see within the dream of a sleeping Hibben, a owl-like humanoid, mere 3.5 foot tall, rotund and squat fey creature with scintillating plumage of midnight blues, forest greens, specks of purple tossed in the mix, like as if painter blowing specks of coloration, layer upon layer upon layer, to create the feathery coating of this individual, while eyes closed. In the dream, they are wide open, twin orbs of shimmering emerald,
looking out above or upon a swirling sky, like different shades of oils mixed with waters, of numerous shades of green and orange, all swirling together as if the air itself were fluid. And perhaps you could swim through the very landscape. There are undulating, rolling hills of blue grass, trees, plant life, different, none that exists on the mundane world. These are not pine trees or apple trees, of which there are many by inflamed ants, or the oaks, or the maples that surround Nifland, but instead branches that seem to be, the curves are more pure, not gnarled and twisted like the trees of the real world. Or if you were to ask Muahal Telea, he would surely tell you that this is the real world, and the realm of the waking is but a facade, a flawed caricature, a faded imitation of this realm of pure creativity. And things that resemble cloud spirits, gentle doves, and shower swans float upon or perhaps swim through this sky, but are different somehow. The coloration, vivid. All the colors here are of a brighter, of a slightly different hue, a shade that should exist. Greens are greens and blues are blues, but they're more vivid, more potent. You can feel those colors. They evoke emotions within you. As I feel the call of wakefulness, I look upon this landscape, sigh for a moment in disappointment, and close my eyes in the dream. And they flutter open in the real, or in the fleshlands, I should say. And as I rise to my feet, you see, I don't have much. The only clothing that I wear looks like a mantle of sorts that I wear over myself. It is of different layers of multicolored fabrics hanging or woven from that mantle, going down about to waist high, or perhaps a little bit below that, are layers and layers of feathers. Owl feathers, bits of those peacock eyes, which I don't know what the terminology is, but I think we've all seen a peacock feather, those little portions of the feathers tied in to the mix. And brush myself off. Look about. I see this human, the human I know quite well. Brother of Rose, who tells the most wondrous stories of her dreams. Ah, Atlas brings you to the house of contemplation.
Muahal. Sorry.
Okay, just to confirm, I'm assuming since you guys are going to be talking to each other, you guys both share a language. What languages do you know? You guys know each other, so it's probably more than likely you already know what language to speak to each other. But I just want to know what language that is.
You tell me your chosen language, and I will try to accommodate it.
I probably would have tried all
Pelganese.
that I know. We know ourselves for how many cycles, which more or less
We probably
translate.
speak Pelganese to each other.
What?
You're
Sorry?
humans. Rose and you are both human. I would imagine you speak Pelganese at home.
Yes.
Although Sindarian is also possibly.
Well, I'll tell you, but before that, I'm just
I
asking
speak
to
Pelganese too.
idea of the relationship, how much cycles we know each other. To the Flame Tender, to Mohal, more or less.
Mohal has been here since your sister has been coming here, so it's more likely you know Mohal fairly well. Maybe you don't interact with him as much. He's a little more closer to your sister than anything else. But
Okay.
that is to say that you still don't have your conversations, or at the very least, he is definitely one of the ones who usually knows where your sister is within the temple, or will guide her back out to you, or watches after her from time to time.
Okay.
It seems they trade jobs, but he's definitely one of the ones who's been here the
If you don't have
longest.
a fixed, yeah, I got that. If you don't have a fixed time for it, is it okay? He came to the temple that I know of the first time around her 10 years old. Translated to
I've been
cycles would be
here longer than
40,
that.
50.
He's been
I
here.
know, but
Yeah. He's been
like
he's been here a long time. So I believe you're saying that she came in.
give me
Rose
context.
came in when she was
I'm
10 years
asking
old,
for my.
essentially.
I'm trying to know psychologically. Like I'm like 18ish years old. I know
Yeah.
him like since what age of mine. So
How old did
to have the relationship.
How old did you say Rose started going to the temple?
If it's okay, like 2 years ago, like when she was 10, so more or less like 4 cycles. I think it would be 8 cycles ago, something like that. 9.
Yeah. Then you've known him. You've known him 8 cycles. Then.
Yeah, good. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I speak Pelganese, Thraxa,
Right. Oh.
Mulish, Pelganese, Thraxa, Mulish, and Thuban. And
We've had much
I am very, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself because you know me, and then you tell me what you would have exposed
Okay.
to. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so since the first time I came in very, very, very worried. You assume you have astronomical insight, so I'm just gonna go a bit, assume you do. Very, very overprotective, very caring. Maybe you would translate too attached to little Rose, to whom I see as the most vulnerable of my family, and at the same time, you know, the most precious to all of us. I came here very worried, and I saw her here simply being around you, you all surely. If we know, I probably like from the first time we met each other, I probably like displayed this kind of worry, but I wasn't violent with anyone nor anything like that. But you could probably see the restraint because of the fear and all of this attachment, and like I was like, what happened? Why was she gone for so long? Who am I to blame? Who kidnapped her? Like probably all these horrible thoughts, but she's perfectly okay. And I'm trying like to cope with that and say, okay, she's okay. She looks okay. It looks like no one here is harming her. So that was probably the first side you saw of me, a side of struggle, a side of struggle mostly, of attachment. And you as we knew each other for these 9 cycles, you saw me grow from being just starting to be a man to becoming a bit more of a man. You've noticed the protector of my family. I love to tell stories. I find your art. Well, no, I can't see it. I find you very interesting. I find the place very interesting, but I only come in for rows, and you surely know I'm frequently underslept. I'm frequently more than underslept. I slept bad. Like, you know, I slept a little bit here because I just had sex with 9 sprites. Then I kind of like went back to being a bodyguard. Then, like, you know, and I was like, I sleep in bits and it changes every day, and it's a whole chaos, and it's not a good sleep. Sometimes I sleep in a bed, which is very uncomfortable for my muscles. Sometimes I sleep in the mar, directly on the mar, which actually you see that replenishes me quite well, and it's when I sleep alone, which is most of the times. I'm always coming covered in dirt completely, especially my hair. You can probably see, or the little psychedelic drops of sand and dirt and earth, which to me is cleanliness,
Right.
fall through your flesh land of the real and introspective ethereal dream. And this is more or less who am I, trying to entertain, and you surely have noticed that innerly trying to be approved, trying to entertain, to be liked and accepted.
Yeah.
As I want always that Rose feels liked and accepted, and that's what I like of this place. That I think she's completely unjudged here. So please, by all means, tell me. Oh, and languages, depending on which languages you speak, I will speak all the languages you speak, and I'm gonna actually purposefully, because I may or may not know that where you are, usually there are no languages. I purposefully make it hard for you and go from one language to another, and sometimes put a little.
I appreciate a challenge.
And I'm pretending I sleep, but you know I didn't sleep. You know.
So for your benefit and for everyone's benefit, Muahal speaks Ishtan, Sundarian, Pelganese, Thraxa, and Thuban. Just an FYI.
I challenge you with Mulish then, and you challenge me with the others.
Okay.
If you do.
Right. So, but seeing the worry in your eye, I simply cut to the chase. This day, as you look to be in a hurry, I speak to you in the tongue of your species. Atlas. I know that look in your eye. Need not worry. Rose is here. She's quite safe, as she always is. You look.
I'm not worried. I know she's with you, and that's a lie.
You worry too
too
much, my young friend. Your sister is safe here. She is content. I know the struggles of life outside, especially for her, but do not worry. You should remember the tale of the hare and the frogs. You know the one I told you many times before. Hares, as you know, are fruit. The least shadow or bump in the night sends them scurrying in such terrible fright to some hiding place. Once, it is said, all the hares decided they would rather die than live in such misery, such fright. And while they were arguing amongst themselves on how best to conduct such a grisly fate, They thought they heard a noise, and in a flash were scampering off to their warrens and their dens. On the way, they passed a pond where a family of frogs was laying about upon the lily pads and reeds along the bank. In an instant, the tiny frogs scattered about, seeking safety in the mud, crawling beneath the muck and murk. "Look," cried one of the hares, "things aren't so bad after all. There are creatures here who even fear our passing. Things must not be so bad." Take comfort in that. However unfortunate, however dangerous we think things might be for us, there's always someone who is far more worse off. But I see you're in the mood for tours, tales, and stories. I'll take you to your sister.
Oh, I always appreciate that you remind me of that story, because I have this terrible condition. I always forget that which completely annoys me. But hey, as always, I brought you your fresh apple, and I show you the fresh apple I took.
I take the apple from you. Thank you.
I bow. And I shall for that accept you telling me that story 1,000 times more. Actually, while you're taking me to my sister, how was that pesky story again?
Let's come again. I will recount the story again for you.
I mean, I expect we don't role play that, but he's actually listening.
Yeah. Well, as you guys tell the story and you're wandering around the temple, you know she's here. It just depends where she is. So sometimes a little bit of a walk to see where she might be. She might be awake, she might be painting, or she might be sleeping, or maybe partaking of the hookah and mimicking people. You know for a fact she's never talked here in the Fleshlands, but her dreams talk louder than most.
Indeed. And for one as impatient, as anxious as you, the pace with which I traipse about this longhouse must seem infuriating to you, as I'm 3.5 feet tall with stumpy owl talon legs, but also I move about slowly. You've never seen me in a hurry, ever. It's almost as if I'm still half asleep. I move with just a slow, meandering gait, not in any rush or hurry to get anywhere, it would seem.
One of the first people you pass by in your slow meandering search for Rose in this place as you're looking between people who are sleeping and stuff. There's not many humans here. As a matter of fact, for the most part, when you make your full rounds, there's only 2 other humans that seem to be there. Otherwise, one of the first people you encounter is Chica. Chica is the only Ducasit in the temple, and she sits there smoking an opium pipe with long brown, like mousy brown hair, curly, her long brown, light tan ears, sort of like flop. So they stand up from time to time before flopping back over in a daze. And she kind of like looks at you, and almost an exact amount of same slowness as you do, and gives a very slow nod in your direction. And but when she turns to Atlas, as she her eyes almost seem to widen a little more, or as she like nods again very slowly, very slowly, before reaching in to her into a satchel to replenish her pipe. But one of her ears sort of like twitches. She seems to know exactly what it is you're doing before she points her ear in a direction, so to indicate that it's somewhere over there. Wherever you're
I
looking for is over
Bow
there.
again,
Before taking a
nodding
large
my
puff.
head down to her, and your sister has such a vivid imagination. These periods she shares with us are such a comfort to her and to others here. The stories she tells are so delightful. Again, my friend, I can see in your eyes a bloodshot haze of red. You should rest here from time to time. You do yourself no good. We all must sleep. We all must rest. You can't keep serving dishes and attending to guests at the inn all hours of the day. Think about it. Doors of the House of Contemplation are always open. I wandered down. There are many sort of chambers here with more pillows and cushions and some reclining areas for people to indulge in the hookah and opium and other such wondrous spices and chemicals. Looking in each of them until perhaps
And most
eventually.
people seem to either be dozing and asleep. There's at least one who seems to be painting, and there seems to be several different sources of music that don't really seem to harmonize in the overall tempo when you get there. But in each individually is good, but are just very discordant and seem to clash with each other otherwise. But don't seem to disturb too many people in their blissed out, drugged state. But for the most part, wherever you go, you don't really see Rose, or one of them seems to point in a direction where they think they saw her last. You're getting the feeling as you walk around that she's probably been all over the place, but it's just they haven't really been paying much attention to what's been waking out here. And it's not until you make a full rotation around the entirety of this temple, and it takes you maybe about, much to your impatience, like half an hour, just to reach one end, and then slowly go all the way back as he's telling you stories here. But then it becomes very clear that there's only one place you guys haven't gone to, or you haven't checked, and you look right to the center of the room, and it's the roost. And you only get up to the roost by invitation, but if ever there's a need to get the attention of whoever's up there, there is a silken pole cord that you can ring a small bell to let the high priest know that you are requesting his presence. And so you make your way there.
So it's the chamber of the high priest. It's
Yes.
not okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I talk towards you, Mohal, and I like, you see me disappointed that she's there, but at the same time, first disappointed, but then like a kind of content, and I tell you, well, I know she's having a good birthday. Tell her I sent her I sent her this, please. Tell her it's chewed from both Lars and me, just like she likes them.
Then you
hold the
hear
seats out.
sort of like a thump, 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 thump. As you actually see, as you look upstairs as you're talking, you see a thump, thump, but it's a very slow thump, thump, thump. Like a child, and very much so when you see her, is Rose with her light blue skin, and her bright white hair and white eyes has a sort of dreamy look as she's just sort of like sliding down step by step, like thump, 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 kicking her leg is out, pulling her down, and thump, thump, thump. Seems to be having fun coming down the stairs. And right behind her, at a slow slither as his coils zigzags down the stairs, so he's not just like rocketing straight through, is High Priest Deguvish. And he is only dressed. He is brilliant emerald sort of scales, like polished, almost forest green. His hood has exactly 7 piercings along it. 6 piercings on either side of the hood, and one like right in between the brow, and a long like rope connected along the back of his head, and connected, dangling down with beads and owl feathers as he slithers down. The only thing he has that he even wears is a silken, almost like silken sort of like robe, just this deep purple, luxurious silk robe as he comes down that's open. So you see most of his bare chest and stuff as he slithers down. Atlas, I thought I heard your voice. You must be looking for Rose. As you can see, she is just fine. Actually, she was just about to head home. This is a wonderful surprise. Sorry, I'm getting your name here. Muhal, I see you've been guiding him to us. How goes your journey in these flesh-filled lands?
Me or him?
Yeah.
It seems to be a general question.
Fleshy as always.
Yes, indeed.
I say that with a deviant smirk.
He nods, and every time he looks at you, you have this feeling like he's like examining you very closely. Every time you meet him, it's not often, but when you do, it seems like every time he looks at you, it's like he's latching on to like certain details about you. Like he's looking at something about you, and sort of like blinks with those slitted eyes before looking at another, like taking you in. But it's like every single time he's like sizing. It's not a sizing up, but more like he's looking at you and seeing something that he particularly likes. But he doesn't like go out and take it or like grab you or anything like that. But like it's more like a mental checklist that he seems to do every time he looks at you. Mual, what is it that was your answer to his question?
I said very fleshy as
Not
always.
you.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, you. Mual, what was your answer to the question,
Right.
if any?
As ever, I seek to make this faded realm a bit brighter with every moment in wakefulness. I look to young Rose as she's sort of hopping down from the stairs. I hold out my stubby hidden hand to her.
Yeah. And when she gets down from the stairs after she stands up and sort of like straightens out her dress and brushes it out, she's always very lively, even after a
Mm-hmm.
opium sleep. For some reason, every time she wakes up, she seems like reinvigorated and stuff. As she gets down there, she sees you, she smiles, but as you extend out your hand, she all of a sudden sort of like hunches herself down a little bit and sort of like closes her eyes like very slightly and like puckers her lips just a little bit as she to almost like try to mimic a sort of like your own beak as she like
Mm-hmm.
uh, as she reaches out and
Right.
grabs your hand in a very similar manner to you before like shaking it gently and going over to you, Atlas, where she puffs herself up and stands like tall and strong, and having those things. Her emotiveness is especially intense. You almost could say that she's like almost like a perfect like match for you as far as poker faces go, if not more so.
You did not think I would forget the day of your birth, my dear. I reach into my feathery robe and take out a small dream catcher of, uh, in fact, nearly identical to, not perhaps quite so stylized, but of a similar construction to what you see in my upon my lower third, uh, made in the image of the holy animal of opiate, the psychopomp of dreams. Um, I look to you, Atlas, and you, my friend. Take this. I give to you a small satchel, like yay big. It crunches as you feel it, as if it's dry leaves and other such things, and it smells potently. Mix this in a tea. It will help you find rest and sleep. I know
As a
you need it.
question, he he probably tried it the first. I assume you have given this to him before.
I mean,
This kind of
like
thing.
it's not like I'm not like it's not like hardcore drugs. Like it's like it's tea with just some like mild sedative effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's a
it's just a
concoction
question.
of herbs
Yeah,
and such things.
good. Then, as usual, I accepted. Uh, then, as usual, yes, I accepted. And good. Then probably we can say that part of our relationship is that you help me deal better with the waking world, and I
Yeah,
deviously challenged you here in the flesh lands.
that is
And
something I perform for many in the community. Any from Flame Dance would know.
nice.
Yeah.
Um, I nod at the gesture, by the way, of Rose. Like when she did that, I kept my usual posture from the waist up, but from the waist down, like I crouched, like if I was about to Hungarian dance, and we were kind of like at the same level with the same expression. And then I
I
like
gotcha.
almost mechanically went up. And as I take the satchel, I bow and I bow slightly to you again as a sign of respect. And Muahal, and I say, as always, he does this. He does this only if he has noticed it bothers you. He put his hand on your kind of shoulder and he says, as always, thank you very much, and it's always very heartfelt. And you can feel definitely that you are a source of peace for this very hard work, very hard play, man.
May
And
your
you're a
dreams bring
source
you
of peace
comfort.
and rest. And actually, as he is annoyed at the temple, he is equally or more wise puzzled, and he likes this weird sensation where he's both feeling his anger but not angry at it. But he only does it when he comes for Rose 4. Of course, the fleshlands have a lot of fleshy things. And I go about meeting the. As I go with Rose, I tap her lightly in the shoulder for her to wait for me, and sometimes she does, and sometimes she goes a bit ahead. And as I make a little pause to go to the bunny, if she's not too. It was a she, right?
Yeah, it was a she. Yeah,
Yeah, if she's not
as she's
too
there.
far from there.
Yeah. No, she's
And
not
he
too far from
says,
there. She's still good. Hmm.
yeah. And I go to her ear. I'm not sure I remember what you answered the first time because you know how my memories always get mushy here, but we can have a bit of flashlands later, like the first time I came in. Later, of course,
There's like
and
there's
maybe
like
for you, would it be a second?
she sort of like
And
pauses. I mean, the thing is, it takes a long time before as you talk to her, you're used to this response. You've done this before, at least. Before, probably her ear twitches. It takes like maybe like 30 seconds before she twitches, and she opens her eyes, and she sort of like blinks, and there's a smile and a scrunch of her nose, and she beckons you closer. Very slowly, very slowly. But you know that she gets rather quick in a moment here. And I'm going to cut the scene here just because we have been focusing on you guys, because you are going to have your little bit of fun as she leads you into one of the more private rooms in a very that slow sort of slight hop, slight waddle manner as High Priest Agush just sort of like flicks his tongue in that direction and just watches them go. Oh, closes his eyes for a moment, flicks his tongue again, and says, "What a portrait they make. What a portrait they make in this place, I wonder. What a portrait they make." And he sort of looks back up to the roost as he begins to slowly wind up that way, leaving you be to your thoughts. Mahai, to go about your business. But now we begin to turn. It's reached the afternoon, and we travel further away from this place. Now we travel towards more of the center of Flame Dance, more where the marketplaces are, and more the general goods, like not necessarily like but market, and eventually we pass by a few places where there are small forges and stuff, and finally we reach a particular forge in question. And forge ran by one of the few Ferrum families, the very few Ferrum families that are here, Rai Magraid Taful. Oh, and he's currently berating his current employee and newest member of the Forest Watch, who, while Ray himself is only for like very very stout, a very stout solid 4 feet tall, and a lot more rotund and muscular than most Ferrum, and almost stockier build and stuff, probably because of his hard work at the blacksmith. He's talking to his particular new charge, and despite looking up at him, that doesn't stop him from Brady him. So, Lou, if you would like to describe yourself, you're not on duty at the Forest Watch right now. You're doing your other job as being part of the Forge. with this particular Ferrum blacksmith.
So as you can see from the image next to me here, I standing there, just very listening, almost trying to tune out his master's voice. All right, we got this, we got to do this, now we got to sell this, that. Hurry up there, Sonny. You know, the sound of the monotonous
steel bender.
going over his invoices. I'm like, oh, we got this now. Oh, hurry up, you know. In the background, his voice is ringing, but really, the ding, 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 turn the steel, ding, or turn the metal, ding, ding, ding. The sound of the hammer is acting as a meditative medium, as a Vigish man, broad-shouldered, gaunt, wearing a leather apron and thick sort of quilted sort of arm guards about it and long, heavily protected in insulated gloves, as he's holding on to one like long iron prongs, and another bit he's hitting. He's resting a piece of iron, and he's hitting it with a hammer, working the iron, and just very casual, like ding ding. My brows furrow a bit. A younger Vigish man, though, like he's speaking to me, but if he does say a few things, I'm just very ding ding.
Yeah, keeping focus on it despite the verbal abuse. It's the same verbal abuse you've been getting here. It is very clear. He is not a very imaginative with his insults, as is typical of a Ferrum to begin with anyway. And even then, it seems to follow the same pattern. You can almost predict, even with every strike of your hammer against the iron and such, almost exactly what line of dialogue he's going to say next to insult you. Like look at you, banging away at it. Like, yeah. But yeah, like look at you, just banging away at that stuff. Steel forgers my ass, you know. And it's stuff like that most of the part, like really insulting the fact that he's got this that you think you're like so much better than him and stuff like that, even though you've never made any real attempt to show that you are better than him, other than the fact that of what you are, being literally the only resident Vigish of yeah, pretty much, Nick. Basically, being the only resident Vigish of Flame Dance has caused actually quite a stir within. I'm trying to remember, how long has it been since you came here and joined the Forest Watch?
I've been here recently.
Yeah, it's probably hasn't been.
I think about 3 cycles.
3 cycles, yeah. No, it hasn't been
pretty recently, about maybe 3 or 4 cycles.
Yeah, we'll go with 3 or 4 cycles. This has been nothing new. Even as the youngest member of the Forest Watch, you've gotten your way around and such. So, as the continual beratement goes by, you still get the farmers who come in who need a hoe to be repaired, and usually, for the most part, the Ferrum Ray will leave you with basically you know this for a fact. It's the shit jobs, pretty much not necessarily
making screws and nails.
Making screws and nails, or bend this hoe into place. And any more. Yeah, they're very repetitive work and stuff like that. And he focuses more on the advanced stuff or anything like that, which, whether or not you mind, I'm going to leave that up to you as far as things go. Besides your real reasons for being here has been in your mind today. Today's the day. You have a feeling that he's, as he usually does, he usually at a certain point, anytime you're actually working for him on a given day, that usually he'll make you go early because of the fact that you never give in to his insults. He just is able to berate you, and he gets frustrated at that fact, and he just eventually just goes, you're free to go. It's not that point. You probably still have a little bit more time there, but this is also one of the few chances you actually have to not be doing your duties as the Forest Watch today. or really, if you want to work at the Forest Watch, it's more volunteer at that point. And you have that in your mind as you're going by, that today might be the day. Today might be the day that you go meet them.
Well, this do, Master Smith. And I hold up
Uh,
a piece of like a head of a hoe kind of thing.
Yeah, he's looking at it, and he's looking at it, and he's got that squat, dark, beady eyes, and that long, the beard is actually not that long, to be honest. I mean, it's dirty and stuff like that, and it's not very well kept. But it seems that, if, of course, doing forge work and stuff, it's definitely like singed off a few times, and he definitely seems to do very minor trimming on it so it doesn't get in the way of the hammer blows or getting like completely stuck in the fire. But even then, obviously, there are still some more burnt patches here and there and stuff like that. And he's looking at your work here, and there's that contemptuous sort of scowl on his face as he's looking at it and go, oh, it's like, and trying to find some flaw to make you like do it over again. But as always, you never really give much reason. You do whatever he asks diligently. He goes, yeah, that'll be fine. And you got at least 3 more over there. Do them exactly like this one. Exactly. And no, and if I find any of them even slightly an inch, an centimeter off from the others, you're doing them all over again.
As you wish, Master Smith.
As you wish, Master Smith. And he says,
Yeah,
don't you talk down at me. Hey, I know what I'm doing here. You claim you think yourself so high and mighty because you know how to forge that legendary steel. Well, let me tell you something. Iron's been here since the beginning. Iron's been here since the beginning, and it's as strong as ever. I'm still here. My people are still here. It's true, our city may have fallen to those damn dirty humans, but you know what? I don't have to take that shit from you as I always do, as you just go continuing on.
As you speak, I'm just quietly moving I'm getting ready for the next piece. Now that I'm nodding to him, just very like respectfully, like just. Of course.
Of course. Of course, he says. Of course. It's the same rhythm. It's the same pattern. You've heard this talk, these insults thousands of times. You're pretty sure you're actually not even gonna get through. Like maybe even halfway through like the second one of these hoes before he's probably going to dismiss you because he can't stand the fact that you never give in and always seem to be very agreeable to even the harshest of his most unimaginable insults, which have not deviated once in the 3 cycles since you got here. It's always that projection. It's always those same words and phrases. And let's actually get a little bit more of your inner thoughts as you're drowning him out and what you plan to do after you know he's going to dismiss you. It's just a matter of time, and you just need to just do what you're doing until he dismisses you in that same huff manner.
So that ringing sound of doo, doo, doo. Turn the iron. Doo, doo. As he's speaking, you damn hobgoblin, I don't understand you. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Now and then I'm nodding, but in my mind I will be meeting him. Strange. One that speaks with orcs. I wonder how he could possibly live in such a place. How can any of these people live in such a place? I turn and I look at the firm as he's like, he is angrier than usual this day. I don't blame him. These people are difficult to deal with. This is a test. This is a test that I will not fail you. Mouth involuntarily just curls downward in a scowl, and for a moment the firm thinks that he got me. Oh, he broke through, but then in it relaxes a bit as I do.
Yeah.
The second one is finished, Master Smith.
He's like staring at you, like he almost can't believe that he might have seen something.
And
As a
then I
matter of fact,
turn.
it's probably because of that brief scowl. He's looking at what you've done, and he's looking at them, and he's looking at the slightest deviation, the slightest thing. But once again, nothing to grab on you, which only leads further to more of that vehement. Is like, yeah, that's fine, perfect. They'll be very happy. Hey, they'll be definitely happy to know, that they're getting their that they're getting their tools forged by your filthy steel bending hands, and just like it's not even an insult. Actually, it's almost like a half backhanded compliment. But to him, it sounds like an insult.
I look at him and I just nod. They are your plans, Master Smith.
Yeah,
Simply the hands that carry them out.
The hands that carry them out. You're done for the day. Go on, get out. I got the rest of this.
Are you sure? I can help you clean up if you would like.
Am I sure? Am I sure? I've been running this damn thing for the last 50 cycles before you got here. And once again, it's the same thing, the same story about him and his family traveling all the way from Bale, with hardly but like basically, but with nothing but 3 nails. 3 nails and a hammer all across Kavega Thale to get to Flame Dance and set up their shop.
I turned to him and I very respectfully
built this entire station, this entire forge, with those 3 nails and his hammer, and whatever scraps he could manage to get from the other vendors. But you know what? He did it. It's his.
Nice. And I agree with him. It must have been very difficult for you, Master Smith.
It must have been very difficult for you, Master Smith. But like I said, just get out of here. Go on.
I take off the apron and I very politely just hang it up and I quietly leave.
Yeah, as usual, he like beats the apron like with a hammer to like get the dust off. But you're sure it's like for more other frustration reasons. Like he's not actually going to hit you or anything like that. You have a feeling like he's actually very much. This verbal abuse is the most courageous he's been around you as far as like doing anything. He's never like raised really a hand to you or anything like that. But you have this feeling just that.
You know I'm part of the Forest Watch now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, which is another reason that he's kind of like he feels like he can get away with it for the most part. So.
But I step outside the smithy, and I have that gray, very dark gray cloak about me. I've changed my clothing a bit. I've sort of wiped the ash in the collective sort of charcoal and ash and whatnot from my face and my arms a bit. Just, no water or any sort of damp cloth or anything like that. Just a simple, just dry cloth, just wiping it. There's still some of it, a bit of the hair. The hair as well is just sort of like a mohawk. A long sort of ponytail sort of deal, just like the image there. Sides of my head being completely shaved, but the top there, I sort of let that loose, and some of the dust and whatnot comes out of it, and when I redo it, I tie off the end tightly a bit as I step outside, and I kind of wince a bit when the sun. Sort of from the light of the sun a bit, but then I turn off, like I veer off, and I make my way to pick up, just like going to the market, and then going to visit the outskirts.
For the most part, you're very used to like the weird looks that most people give you when you're walking by. Even when you're going to market, even the vendors that you usually go to have gotten more used to you. But even then, there's that strange sort of look in their eyes as they look at you, and you can tell there's some layers of like mistrust, even after you're 3 cycles of being here, this mistrust from all the things that they've heard about the Vaigish and such. And now you get that even more so from the orcs, the ones especially that seem to be from who seem to have traveled from Nur Uracha itself, the homeland, seem to follow you with a little more of a deeper scowl than most. But they don't seem to raise much a hand to you. Your status in the Forest Watch is probably one of the few things that gives a sort of level of degree of respect. You actually see one of your fellow Forest Watchmen who is he seems to be currently on his lunch break at the moment. He's the only human in the Forest Watch, a 3rd generation human, Obi Deliria. And the reason for his getting in there is because of the fact that he was chosen specifically by the leader, Hansa Kyun, because of the fact that he was of the people that he had tried out for the Forest Watch, he was almost as good a bowman. Almost as good as Hazan was. But, of course, Hansan is what he is, and a human can't hope to match exactly the skill that comes inherent from being shaped by the dreams of nightmares and the
So
wolf.
I'm there, I'm trading. Like
But-
I just finished a trade for some dried jerky that's wrapped in some cloth from some orc, and the orc, like as I nod as we do the trade. I put it in one of my sort of satchels over my shoulder, and the orc just sort of like his lingering gaze looks at me, a bit of hatred in his little beady eyes. But I turn and I look at Obi, and I nod to him. Good evening.
Obi,
I say in Pogonese to him.
he smiles, actually. It was actually the fact that you had picked up on the language of humans like fairly quickly was actually something of a relief to him. He had been struggling with Tehulian, but luckily given the fact that you're with your Pogonese, he's actually one of the more friendlier members with you as far as the Forest Watch goes. It's probably the heritage of Deliria anyway, from being a lot more open and such. But he raises a goblet that definitely splashes a sort of dark red mixture with a almost like slight orangish sort of tinge, and as a sort of that sparkles in the light. And you know this to be the Flame Dance famous flame wine itself. You yourself have never, of course, partaken of it for your unique biology, so you are incapable of drinking any of the wines and the booze and such. But that doesn't mean that they still don't give you a toast here and then or anything like that. Though a few people have made it that it's like, a few people in the Force Watch have said it's a damn shame, just a damn shame, that he can't at least unwind or enjoy some of the more plentiful stuff. But then they sort of look at Hazen, who also doesn't drink. Maybe not for the same reasons you do, but he also doesn't drink. And they usually shut up because you two have definitely proved to be the more keen and focused of the group. But that doesn't mean they're not skilled at what they do. There's only 26 in the Forest Watch for a reason.
You are
But
enjoying
Obi
your
raises him.
evening break.
Oh, yes. Yes. Why? Well, evening. He's looking up already. He's looking up at the sun to see. It's like, has it reached evening yet? It's like, oh no, it's mid-afternoon. Oh, you were working the forge again, weren't you? Lost track of time.
Yes, forgive my smell.
Ugh, no worries. Hey, I'm sure I stink. I'm sure I stink too. Oh, I mean, I've been trekking through the farmlands and stuff, and he shows his boot, which has like all sorts of like muck from some of the patties
Okay.
and such. I didn't realize you were on patrol today.
I am not. I am trying to relax, as you have said.
He kind of gives a look for a moment. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, well, uh, he seems quite pleased that his suggestion seems to be taking, but a little at the same time a little like confused at to where what you planning on doing to relax. I mean,
Well, as
I
you
mean you're
know, I
getting
cannot
yourself.
partake in your fine drink, but
Mm.
I believe I'll take a walk.
He sort of raises his eyebrow. That sounds suspiciously like a patrol.
It does? Oh, I do suppose it is a patrol.
Well, if that's what makes you relax, he sort of shakes his head as though like he can't get around the idea that someone's idea of relaxing would be to go on more patrols and such. It's just, well, whatever you decide to do. But yeah, I mean, don't stray. Just make sure you get back in one. Well, you can handle yourself. You're fine. Just enjoy your relaxation, he says before he
And
takes
not,
another drink and takes some of the cheese and smears it on some bread before crunching onto the
and you too,
product.
I say as I nod and I leave. And I quietly, make my way out those far outskirts. Walk around the
Yes.
outside of Flame Dance.
Yeah. So you travel past the fields. You know your direction. You know your course. Um, you've scouted out this place many, many times. Um, as you travel past fields, you see ogre work hands tilling parts of the field. Others making sure the irrigation ditches are reaching and giving an even spread across the way. You see oxen pulling the plows from satyrs and humans, and you recognize along the way it's like the uh, those preaching to their farm hands, the tilling of the soil to give to the fields, to refresh, to nurture the fields and nurture it, so that when the harvest finally comes on the day of the harvest, that we will have a full rich bounty. The usual preachings from Quincelian and Valexian priests, interspersed between different parts of the fields. You're very much used to this as you go out on patrol. But you know exactly where you're going. It's not a patrol, and you're going right to the outskirts. It's like that point that's almost the edge of everything. That place where, for some reason, nothing grows. The land's blighted by something unnatural. That place you've been watching for that reason for that reason. And you think of the rumors of what lays there. But you have to be sure, and you have to know. So you walk and walk, and we travel along that way, and we reach to that point where that blighted land is, outside of a cave mouth. The plants here have long since withered and died. The earth is barren, and there's the faint flicker of what seems to be potentially a campfire coming from the mouth of the of the uh, of the cave mouth itself, smoke trailing out, the smell of meat. But the figure inside is not yet seen, not yet.
Yeah, I don't go
In
into the
this
cave,
cloaked,
but I wait outside of it.
but we will turn now to the figure in the cave. We won't describe him just yet, but his thoughts of what he is doing, and maybe some hints before the full visage if he decides to step out of the cave looks like. So Adrian, please give us the thoughts and maybe
Yeah,
some
one
hints.
question: is it nightfall?
It is not nightfall. It is late afternoon at this point.
Okay. This camera moves into the dark cave as the glowing embers of the fire leap and twist towards the roof of the cave. A hideous, alien-like figure sits conversing with the flames. A cage of teeth cover and protrude from his cheeks and cover his maw. And looking upon his face, you can see two symbols: a disc, that of the glowing sun, and on his other temple, the twin moons. As the camera zooms out, you can see this deceased, small mammalian creature in his lap as he opens the cage of teeth. And a wicked tongue descends and penetrates into the mammalian flesh. These sucking mouths just all along this tongue as he makes short work of it before tongue rescinds back and the blood drips down. And then tosses this mammalian creature into the flames. Fire that bounds us, take this offering as gratitude for the life of your warmth. Know that I hunt the unravelers of this world who would see it end. He sort of gets to his feet, and I'll hold any further descriptions. As I move through this cave, I guess I'm this is the first time I've actually stayed in one spot since the incident for a period of time, and I'm looking at the moss and the vines that maybe grow in this, maybe the mushrooms, and even looking out at the entrance of this cave, seeing how the plant life withers and dies, and in that it's sort of like a realization, but I fight against it as I don't want to believe that I am the cause of this. Oh, no! As these would be sounds that you could hear emanating, and they are spoken in Thrax. I don't know if you could understand that, but you can definitely hear some loud vocals emanating from this cave mouth.
I very casually just rest my hand on a pommel of a blade that's sort of hanging on a sheath that's on leather sheath that's on my belt. And I just wait, and I just very sort of quietly, respectfully, like just sort of looking into the dark cave. Of course, I see her form and whatnot, like this, how you're moving about, how you're looking at the foliage and whatnot. But I'm just, just sort of watching, waiting for you to approach me.
And to be honest, also to let you know, Adrian, you don't get many visitors this way, but usually the visitors you get are of the orcs that come here, who will sometimes try and bring you, will bring you things that they've hunted, as well as like some bits of conversation and the ongoings of what's going on around, and try to give compassion to you. But even then, you can tell that some of them still have a sort of like distance from you, like a somewhat slight fear of you, even with their compassion, even with their kindness towards you. And especially in the beginning, they tried to bring you vegetation-based foods, so like apples and um, mushrooms and many different and grapes of many kinds. They even brought you wine. Wine is one of the few things that if you make sure you drink near immediately when you get it, doesn't begin to spoil quite as quickly. But otherwise, that is really the only type of vegetation you've been able to eat, really, or really more drink and imbibe here. Otherwise, most of the time when you try to bite into that apple, it doesn't taste right. And those suckers on your teeth, on your tongue, just refuse to latch. Your diet has become far more carnivorous. But you've gotten very used to knowing when you're alone and when there's others standing out waiting to meet you. But it's usually only the orcs. And this is an orc. You can almost taste that. Almost smell that.
Can I actually see Lou from here? Can I see Lou's character?
I'm just standing like my silhouette, right? I'm just standing like a elf.
So you can see this figure definitely moving, but as I'm in the dark and you're in the light, as it was my intention to leave this cave and face the sun while Mazda while it's still in the sky, because for whenever I am reminded and frustrated and pained at my condition, I always seek to stare into the light as much as it is uncomfortable upon my flesh. And as this figure is moving about, you can see that I am not some large, bulky monster. No, it is a thin figure that moves from the cave, and I look out at you and I immediately recognize you for what you are. You great enslaver of my people. You come to seek death. I will give it to you. And I'm actually calling out in the language of Morgul, as I assume you speak it.
I take one step back a bit, almost like like to you it would look like I'm sort of cowering a bit, like from your words there and seeing you, but for me, a bit more of a balanced stance as I sort of look at you more like sideways, my left hand sort of resting on my pommel, and my right hand goes to my chest. I say in more ghoulish, I do not come here for putting chains upon you. I am Ricardo Castillo. I'm a member of the Forest Watch, and I have been assigned to this area. There has been word of strange happenings. The farmers, they speak. Do you have a name?
I am Hishka. The elders of this area warned me of your being. You are not a creature of war, of pillaging and burning. You are not no slaver, I say questioningly.
I am not. I am the guardian of your people and of this city. That is my duty here.
And I just say, but are you a guardian of my people. And then I step out into the light in full fashion and form. And let me just screen share this if I can. Are you guys getting that?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there it is.
So of course, like I take another step back at that, and I'm only about 5'7", so I assume you're probably a bit taller, being.
Yeah, I'm 6'10", but
Yeah.
very thin, very thin.
Yeah, so I'm looking up at you, and I take another step back, and I look up, and there's a moment where, like, I don't, but I like where you would look for a response, but there is no response, I just give a very stoic look up at you, and I say, and then like after a beat, I say, this is the duty that I have been given to by Hunter Kyun. I will abide by his rule, for it is the rule of your king.
And you can see as I was stepping out and I guess appraising you, but looking around, you might notice how it pains my face as I look around and see these plants dead and withered around me. I am not proud of my condition. It pains me that I afflict my condition upon the lands and plants around me. But my purpose here is the beginning of a journey that I'm afraid I will not see to fruition. As I look up and I'm just going to say you've won me over with how just open and calm you've looked, and it sort of erased the doubts and the what's the sort of word, the ills I would think towards you because of your race. What's that? It's like, I am an exile. I wasn't always this. Some foul warlock or knight of the death dragon of darkness. You inflicted this upon me, and I have left my home, wishing not to infect those I love. But my journey is grander. The forces of darkness are out of balance. They will consume all. Life exists on a balance of the creators upon the oversoul. And then looking up at you.
Very sort of intently listening.
Does my story satisfy you? That I am no monster. That I seek no ill towards this settlement. I am a hunter of warlocks, and I will cast their bodies into the flames, so that their souls may be purged in Morgul's mighty body.
I see. Though I do not understand your tales, Shka, your willingness to be open is noted. I am your guardian. I am here to make sure the farmers do not raise pitchfork, torch, or any other tools of their profession against you for your appearance and effect that you may have upon this area. If you need food, drink, you should feel free to ask upon me, and I will retrieve you such upon my patrols of this area.
Why? Why are you so different from that of your kin? You are the opposite of everything I'd learned and seen before. You wish to protect me? Why?
That is the law of your land, is it not?
Most would look upon me and recoil in horror and disgust.
As I sort of like, no longer standing, I sort of, not kneeling down, but, doing like that, sort of like a squat. And as I squat, there's like crackings of bone on my legs that are, all these bones are sort of twisted together, and you can hear them and they're cracking and reforming together. But this pain, as loud and painful as it looks, there is no grimace upon my face.
If there is one thing that you should know of my people, that when we are set to a task, a duty, we stick to its completion. I come here to speak words with you, not of means of compassion, for I do not assume you to share any towards me, but it is of my duty. If you do not hold faith in my feelings, for they are irrelevant in this matter, hold fast and know that I am trained and I am willing to make sure no harm is done to you upon your work. Your livelihood is your own business. I will not ask any more of it. You will not ask any more of mine. For I have told you why I am here.
I am here. Mistakenly. I am in search of churches, temples, shrines to the dark gods and the creator of darkness himself. I am in search of them, and I will bring the justice of the dead sun and balance to this world. As I said, I do not believe to see my task to fruition alive, but I will take the first steps.
To me, nod at that. There's a bit of like respect, like a sort of like a give.
So, Rakondu, tell me, do such places of worship exist here or in the surrounding lands?
Out of the necessity for your safety, I will not share such information if I were to know it.
Why not?
I like take a step back a bit. Like,
As my eyes sort of widen and flare up, and these almost like antennae that seem to protrude from from behind my ears. They sort of come up as these tendrils, almost like of a material, sort of like hairs, but they're sort of like straight, like the, I guess, insectoid limbs in my back. They all just like sort of flare up as it's like a lion showing and raising its like heckles or that of a dog, and making myself seem much larger. And in this, I look really fierce and intimidating.
Why not? Why would you not give me knowledge that I would use against the darkness?
You see me like, there's a beat, I look at you. I've taken another step back when you flared up like that. No response. Before I slowly take another step back and then another step back. And I swiftly turn and leave down that long road.
And I want to chase and run after you, but in this daylight, as I step even further out from the cave, and the light of the sun, I feel it upon the back of my skin, and I feel that burning sensation. Not that the sun kills me, but more my skin pains and recoils under it, and I realize that I cannot chase and follow you. And I step back into the cave and walk towards the campfire and begin coaxing the flame in the language of Morgul.
I don't look over my shoulder. It's very sort of, I turn almost nearly robotic.
And it's fading from the late afternoon to near that point where the sun's body begins to set. And we reach that twilight period of light as you walk your way home. By this point, Rose and Atlas have made it back, back home to Grace, where they're beginning to celebrate the day of her birth. Mual, once again begins to settle in for another bout of rest and bliss. And thoughts of your day go by, of this day. Some maybe a little more eventful than others. And now we will go to final soliloquies from each of you. This has been a chance to get to know your characters, to get an idea of who they are. So let's get a deeper look on this day, of these moments, of these experiences that are normal or maybe not normal. So go ahead.
Who would like to start? I start, or?
You go ahead. Yeah. Why don't you and Nick, because you guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go in the order in which we were introduced.
Yeah.
Actually, if it's okay by you, Nick, I would like to hear of you first. I'd like to, I feel like on the years that we've been together, I feel like I should know maybe a bit more of your character. If that's okay.
Okay, yeah. As I settle in, take a seat down upon one of the numerous cushions. There's a censer on a stand nearby which slowly exudes scented smoke laced with opiates and sedatives. Things to enhance the mind and open one's perceptions, letting one imagination blossom. As I close my eyes, not from any physical exhaustion, for my people need so little actual rest. No, it is of piety and of prayer and of my own personal explorations that I enter once again this land. It's far more comfortable to me. Close my eyes, and almost immediately slip into the dream. Such vivid colors, such wondrous splendor of creativity, such relief. I breathe that realm, which is similar to what was described earlier, looking over endless wheat fields of dreams. Another cycle gone. Rose, a surname. Who can truly know what tribe she is from? It does not matter. Another cycle older. With every day, with every chain, her imagination blossoms. Tales, and whispers, not with words. I can feel the potence of her mind through the gestures, through the intent gaze. I look into these stalks, which have the slumbering dreams of so many men and women I know. I feel I know them so well, some of them. Even though many I've never seen before in the fleshlands, in the waking world. But a little window, I gaze into these dreamscapes, these own worlds, portals into whole new creations. I find, as I wander through the sea of dream wheat, find that window to young Rose, and look intent upon what I see there. Dream, young one. Let the drab limitations of this mundane world fall away from you. Embrace the freedom of opiate. Let go of the trappings. Forget the physical limitations, the pain and the jeers others call out upon you. You may be flawed and broken upon the surface of Kavagathale, but here you are mighty and you are free. And I offer whispers and prayers in the language of hope, that almost dead tongue known only to my people and perhaps less than a handful of others. I whisper words of encouragement into that single stalk, which seems to grow a bit taller than the others. I look down and I see perhaps the beginnings of bulbs, of flowers yet to bloom, but given encouragement and such tending, a wondrous blossom indeed. Gotta
Beautiful.
go.
Okay, I'm charged. Okay, so Atlas right now is at one of the many places for the comfort of the flesh while the mind wanders. And his flesh is joined with the flesh of one who is so keen to wander, of a species which is so keen to wander. Far away from such flesh prison. And he thinks how curious the way the days arrange each other. How mind-blowing can be pleasure after hard work. It's as if it was not pleasure but an escape. Everyone sees him like walking through a dream. They see him here as the child of the soil, of the fleshlands. Yet, all that time while he ran, while he made his acrobatics, he was carrying with him a heavy chain, a chain with heavy weight. And he's thinking of chains as he slowly caresses the naked body of this wonderful woman. The chains are right now on the floor. Of course, this was not an act for chains, but people think of chains in a curious way. People think of pleasure. Pleasure and pain are both chains. The days arrange themselves in chains for a reason, which is beyond him. But people see chains in the wrong way, he thinks, as he stands up, lightly passing his hand through the chin of the already slumbered beautiful. He takes the chain as he thinks to himself, yes, people think of chains in the wrong way, and he wraps it around his body. For chains are, depending on how you wear them. Chains need not be restraints, I think, as I am the only fast, vital, physical sound and pulse going through the wood of this place, of this labyrinth of dreams, running, jolly, in the flesh, not somewhere else with my chains that make the sound with the wood as I run. And I think, no, chains need not be restraints. Chains are being a bastard. Chains are not restraints if you wear them well. If you wear them well, chains are weapons. Chains are tools. If you wear them well, chains protect your family. If you wear them well, chains keep you full of discipline. And I remember because on this day, the day of the mothers, the day that our mother gave us the gift of Rose, such beautiful Rose, such beautiful escape, the most beloved of the bastards. This day is like a release from the chains and is so welcome, but from this day come 2 more days that will make it feel like this never existed. Because after this day comes the day of soil, of stomping on the ground, of dancing in my room, naked and seen, just me and the Mar, of tumbling on the earth and washing myself in it, breathing it in, going out to the world, taking out the buckets of shit from the clients, the nights past. On the day of the soil, I grasp the strength for the coming day, because the day of the soil is not only your day. Chains are not meant to be thought of that way. Chains are to be used for others. For in the day of rage, a memory of wood, of fake moanings, of silence, the body of an ogre falling to the floor by the inaction, by the chains of a child becoming truly a man. The day of rage comes. The tavern is usually closed on that day, but it may depend on the whims of my mother, who is unbound. Beautiful she is unbound, and beautiful we love her, but someone has to wear the chains. And because I love her, I wear the chains. I protect the bastards. I protect my rose so that she can be happy in opium, while I protect her flesh body. And I run back to Grace's bastards. I run back with my chain. I run back to my task. And I run back to the celebrations. For here on, there will be discipline. And then the unpredictable. Then we shall see what can truly do a chain.
This place is a much kinder place. One people to another gives food, drink. They laugh, they embrace each other. It is warmer here. There's no winds howling, no ice to wither their bodies, to temper their souls. Where I see strength in some of them, devotion, perhaps. Devotion to their duty, whatever their strange, monstrous form may conjure up in that mind of that wretched creature. Hansakyun, that monster, that wicked thing of darkness, dares to test me. They all test me. They all try to see if I'll bend, if I'll break, if I'll show a crack of which they may slide in and say they have defeated steel. Steel will not bend nor break. Many of these kind folk will never see steel if they live long enough. That is a blessing for all of them, one that they do not understand. Ignorant people. And yet, it warms me to see them speak to one another, to see them live together and grow, to find bridges to connect one another. Bridges not made of chain, bridges not made of domination. Perhaps there is hope. I wonder. I wonder.
I think it's your go, Adrian.
Can you guys hear that music?
I can't hear it.
Is it on? It's on the YouTube. Let me.
As I sit down next to the flames, I think of that strange conversation when, although my thoughts towards this man known as Rakondu, this man of steel, though I want to hate him, there's something about him that he showed no fear towards me. And I slap my hand upon the flame, my flesh burning back as I can feel the pain jolting up my arms. Just, Morgul, if only you could singe this condition from me, I would not be like this. And I pull it back at the last moment, and looking upon my hand, I think back to that moment that I was so afflicted, that rider who entered my tribe, who slew so many of my mothers. This rider, he was more corrupted, his flesh, than mine, and he rode into the camp, a marksman, a bowman, though he had no quiver, for his quiver was his flesh and body as he pulled those arrows and shot them into the limbs of my people. Never a killing blow, no. He left us sick and broken, and the afflicted were sealed inside the temple of Orinwaskus, and there we were left to perish as I watched my mothers of my tribe, my brothers, my ancestors, my mentors, each falling before me. But no, the blessings of my birth, the troll's gift upon me, my form would not be broken. As the sickness afflicted me, my flesh regenerated. And as looking upon my hand, my skin on my hand is starting to regrow on the outside as the burnt flesh breaks away and a new layer of skin is forming. Much like this now. I took all I could, for I did not want the disease to leave that place, and as my kin fell, I took their taint upon me. And as time passed, I left that place, and I've come here seeking darkness. Rakondu, curse them, his metallic heart, for it not be beaten into letting me know. He knows the darkness of this land, but he would not share it. I will have it from him. I swear it to you, Morgul of Holy Flame. I swear it to you, Aru Mazda, whose death still pains me, and I swear it to Ahriman. I swear it to the King of Shadows. You will know my pain, as I have experienced much, and I will bring balance upon this void and this world. I know that I must walk this path, and I know that on this path I will die.
All right, thank you, Adrian. Thank you, everyone. Before I end this broadcast, there is one final scene that is not in Flame Dance. It's far away in the distance. We travel away from this village where these little stories of this day have happened. We rise up a little, and we travel across as the twilight fades and it turns to night, and the moons begin to rise as we travel, and we travel across frozen tundras, past them, through all the way to seeing the first sight, a tall ivory tower, twisting in ivory with a red crystallized ruby, larger than any boulder, wrapped in between these ivory carvings. As the first thing we see as we go to this great metropolis, trade. And we zoom towards a balcony, rather opulent looking one. And standing on the balcony is a human woman. Though you wouldn't immediately realize that she may be a woman at first. For the dress she wears is a little more mannish. If one were to think of the dress, it's more like a very sort of Victorian gentleman with ruffles and cuffs and almost a suit sort of tie. Her left hand relaxed in her pocket as another taps and trails a pattern across the edge of the balcony. Her long, straight blonde hair reaches past her waist. Her skin is pale, but paler than would seem most natural. And her eyes are a vibrant green as they stare out across this city. And she breathes, and coal and mist comes from her breath with every exhale. And she stands there looking over this city, looking over it, the plans, the connections, all the little tools she has towards her goal. And most don't even know who she is. Most have never met her. Or if they have, those were very specific occasions. They know her by many names, and not always as a woman or even human. She is an ogre poet, known in some places. Her works, or that alias's works, stretching far and wide, the coded messages in between to those who know the true secrets of that. And there are many, many other things. A spider in her web. And this place, trade, is just one of them. But she's waiting for someone she does not quite get along with. And yet, despite their differences, a sort of rivalry between them. This is neutral ground, this city, between them. If they were to ever meet outside it, then she would rip his head from his neck and drink his blood, drown to the last drop. But he comes. And he comes in those black robes with a sash around his neck with the two orange circles on them. And his own eyes are green. But they're of a different green, a fever green. And their eyes and the pupils are slitted like cats. And they slide in their sockets as he looks around, and his head tilts in that sallow skin, and his lips almost peeled into a weird paper-thin smile, but almost looks like it's going to tear open into something far worse than a smile. His black hair matted and tangled, unkempt. And yet there seems to be some strange movement even underneath his hair, and you can almost see at one point where he twists his head so suddenly, as though listening to something that's not even there. You see on his temple, and on both of his temples, weird growths on this human's head, like black sea anemones, with their tendrils mixing into his own hair. His eyes slide around, and he walks over. But he doesn't seem to stand still. He doesn't stand next to her. He sort of takes a walking sort of pace, his head constantly moving, his eyes sliding. Ah, Ashaver. It's been 3 cycles, I think, since last we had a nice little chat to catch up. Reginald, I'm sure you're here to gloat as you usually do. Gloat? Why would I gloat? When the last time we met, you ruined at least 3 of my little plans. Why would I gloat? You're a bad liar. You've always been a bad liar. That's because I'm so transparent to you, he says. And he twists his neck. Ah, but you are curious, he says as he turns again. You are curious as to why I've called to have a discussion. Usually they're by chance, but you're wondering, I can tell, why I've called a meeting. She just sort of gives a sigh, that exhale of mist going out. But she is patient. She knows this is part of who he is. That need to talk, that chittering, that wheel that goes on in his brain, those voices that chatter at him. Whether it's madness or something more is something else. But she waits. She does not say anything, but she continues to trail her finger across the balcony, waiting for him to finally reveal whatever's got him so excited. Yes, he's very excited. It's not unusual, but there's something else to this. And so the cat-slitted-eyed man continues, mocking, his head twisting at odd angles and sharp jerks, eyes sliding their sockets, as he continues. Ashaver, have you ever wondered, with all your little endeavors, the secret of souls? I know you have. Why would I bother asking that? But, let's just say, What if I were to say that I were to tell you that I have discovered that secret? She's stoic. She still says nothing. She lets him continue. And then he pulls from under his robe a small cage. And in that cage is a butterfly. Beautiful. Its wings with purplish dust flapping slowly in the night's moon. It took a lot of effort and time. We've discovered something. What you're looking at here isn't a butterfly. Oh, it is. But that's not what it really is. If you were to pluck at its wings a bit, tear its little antenna bit by bit, and he almost goes to pick at it, but he just misses barely, tormenting it as it tries to flutter around. What this really is a brand new soul. You want to know how I know this? We finally got a member of the Church of Realisk Ode to fall to corruption. No, you didn't. And he turns, and it snaps, and there's this look of hate in that teeth bare and grit, and for a moment he's almost slithers over and snatches over as he slams his hand and on the balcony, causing it to quiver and creak and crack, and as he's looking up at her with those feverish eyes and this twitch on his face, as he's just looking at her with his seething hate, this madness, for a moment, just for a moment, he's going to reach up and just gouge out her eyes with his own hands. Then he stops for a moment. He smiles. Why would you say that, Ashaver? Well, the same way as you know what I've been doing, and my own plans having issues. We keep tabs on each other. I know you haven't discovered this. You're right. I didn't do it. She blinks for a moment. What do you mean, you didn't do it? It almost seems for a moment like she's actually, for the first time here, she seems a little off-put. This is not like you, Reginald. Oh, you're right. I much prefer taking a hand in my own ascent towards perfection, but this is a unique case. But you're right. I didn't get this information. I had the keys to put it towards use, but I knew you'd be watching me, so, against my own better judgment, he said as he looks once again at the little butterfly flapping around, I gave those keys to someone else. But I still reaped the benefits. See, Ashaver, and he swings the cage, tormentingly, his eyes sliding after it. What I've discovered is that when Tehul knows the secrets of how to create brand new souls out of nothing. We all know him for being able to reincarnate the soul, to reforge it into new form and new flesh. We always wondered where souls came from, and it seems that it is able to create as many as it wants. And their very first life is that of butterflies. Not all butterflies, but very unique ones. Well, that's wonderful. How are you planning to use this information, Reginald? I'm sure that its use of an infinite supply of souls would be wonderful for your mission. No, 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 no. Ashaver, you're thinking towards your own goals, trying to replace your progenitor for your own reasons. You know that mission's never, never, never going to come to pass. But I digress again. For you see, we don't want these new souls, he says, and he reaches in and he pinches, like with a suddenness. Not enough to squeeze it. Not enough to squeeze to death, but to have it struggle between his fingers. And he sort of twists it, and he pulls it between the bars. It just bends its wings at unnatural angles and starts almost like breaking off the dust and parts of the wings as he pulls it out of the cage, as he drops it. And it's still struggling weakly between his fingers. We want to stop the flow. Think about it, Ashaver. No more new souls being made. A cap on the population. A chance for darkness to begin to unravel all things. Well, that's wonderful, Reginald. Very wonderful. It's a shame now that you're giving me all this information so that I can make sure that I let the proper heroic types know. Ashaver, I wouldn't be telling you this if it weren't already too late. And he blows upon this butterfly, and the purple in the wings turn blackened and withered and cracked, and the butterfly's form begins to darken as well. And he lets it go, flying through the air. And when he turns to Ashaver now, his eyes are no longer green with that feverish green or that cat slit. They are completely solid black. It's already in motion, Ashaver, and it's too late. To who will die. And I know you four are just waiting to find out how it's done. And with that, he reaches out and bashes at something, and the broadcast ends.